Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty, along with my lovely co-host, April Coleman.
Hello.
Thank you guys for staying tuned on a Saturday. We've got a great, exciting show today for you, but I got a little news update. We'll get the housekeeping out of the order. Feds came out and left interest rates unchanged. So that's the news of the day. So
that's good.
Going into the spring market, the Feds should leave the interest rates where we're at. So current rates are a little bit under 4, 15 years about 3.6, somewhere in that range. So that's good. We're expecting to get those raised some part this year, gradual increase. So just keep in mind, if buyers are thinking about purchasing this year, if you've been on the fence the last year or two, it's definitely an opportunity to get out there, because I don't think we're going to see them at record lows is what we've seen over the past 5 years. So I think that's another reason that a lot of people are making a lot of moves this year. We've seen the market really pick up the first part of the year, and our January has been very, very strong. And so pending home sales came out, National Association of Realtors today, and they said we're up 0.5%.
Good.
Yep, and that's for December's numbers up to 110.
Okay.
So I think what we saw, what we've been talking about on the show, is we've seen a lot of activity in the fall and the winter market, especially in November and December. And so we've seen a lot of that activity transform. And I think we're going to see that carry on the first part of the year, don't you, April?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think I think what they're saying, that record sales were back since March. So that's a number that's peaked since March, and so very informative. So
I say we're going to have a good 2018.
I think 2018 is going to be strong. Now, in some of the markets across the country, there is an expected decline on some of the sales. Some of that comes with the new tax laws out there, interest deductions and different things. Different states, California, some out in the West have some challenging numbers, different things in New York. So higher priced homes, they may be affected. But in the East Tennessee, Knoxville market, we should be pretty strong. And I think we're off to a record start in January.
Fantastic.
And I think that goes relations with jobs. We're talking about the economy overall, and when people are moving and jobs are flowing and a lot of transfers. We're seeing a lot of pickup in transfers and relocations that we didn't see a couple of years ago.
Right.
And so that those are all good things for 2018 in the first part of the year. Thank you for joining us. We're Real Estate with Ryan, if you're just tuning in, and this is a real estate show that is related to the Knoxville and surrounding markets. We're your hometown experts. We try to bring you the up-to-date information on the real estate market, what's going on in your backyard, especially what house sales are doing, tips we can do, anything we can help you real estate related, and we're going to bring those topics to you. So thank you for staying tuned with us on News Talk 98.7. We've got a good show for you today, and it's going to be owner building. So if you guys are thinking about selling your property and you always want to have that custom dream home about owner building, we're going to talk about that, and it's very doable, very possible to do, and we'll give you some tips and strategies of how to do that and to actually owner build your own home, custom dream home, and may even do it at way, way below cost.
Oh yeah, if you think you can't, maybe you can.
You can, you definitely can. We got into real estate, I think back in 1999 is when we started, and real estate has always intrigued me, and definitely new construction. There's just something about a new home and building it from start to scratch that is kind of exciting, and being able to have that custom home that you're looking for. And we've done several properties like that, and so I wanted to pass some of our knowledge to you guys and things that will maybe help you if you're thinking about building it. Let's look at the market where we're at now. If you're a seller and in the market where we're at, you got a good opportunity to get top dollar in this market. So I encourage you to call our office, get an idea of what the market's doing. Let's see what top dollar is for 2018. And then we've got a plan. Where are we going to move you to? Where are we going? Are we going to build? Are we going to get a builder to do it? Or are we going to buy a resale? So we're going to talk about if you're going to own or build, some challenges with that, and some different things that we can help you do. And I think you'll find that there's a great savings. There's a 35 to 40% savings in the market by doing that. Now, like anything, it takes a little bit of work. Hard work, actually.
A whole lot of hard work.
Well, but it's worth it, though. And I think so for the people that maybe have that time, or, you know it's going to be a two move. So it's so important that they know these options. So first and foremost, owner building means there is no builder. You are the general contractor.
Okay.
So even if you've never done any kind of construction, before I started, I never had an idea. I can't swing a hammer. Thank God I'm good at sales, because me and a hammer do not go well together, and my wife will tell you that. Yes. So I think you've got to be a good manager, a good project manager, and it's about bringing people together, and maybe that's where I have a little bit more of a strength. But owner building, the first thing you're going to do, and we were talking about this morning, we had a lot, we live in Hardin Valley, and there's a lot down the street, and we just bought from a builder, and she said, oh, well, let's go own or build, and let's go build. And I said, we just moved here. let's go custom build. There's an acre right down the street. I said, oh, Lord, we just moved in. So those are some things to think about, but I think the first thing is know where you're going to move and find your lot. The good thing for the market right now, if you've been looking at land inventory across the board, Sevierville, Knoxville, there's an oversupply of land in some areas, and there's an opportunity with the market to find a lot at maybe a little bit of discount which you couldn't find before. And there's all types of financing for land, and especially if you're going to do, an owner build or something like that. So first thing, find your lot, find out where you're going to go, and see if you can secure that. That is most important.
Because it'll be gone.
It'll be gone. Now, tips on when you find your lot, a couple things that you're going to need to do is do your homework. The number one thing before you buy a piece of land, check with the county and municipalities.
Okay.
If we help you, we'll structure the contract and we'll take care of all of that, okay? But we want to make sure we've got contingencies. Those contingencies on land are feasibility studies. And what that talks about is to make sure that just because there's an acre doesn't mean that the county or the city is going to let you build what you want on that lot.
Oh, really?
No,
Okay.
yeah, 100%. So we want to make sure that we have kind of like our home inspection period.
Okay.
We kind of have our due diligence on our land. Make sure, number one, we've got water, sewer, and major utilities to the property.
Okay.
Number two, make sure the county is able and that there's no issue from whether it's agricultural or residential. Make sure the zoning will sign off on a permit for that.
Gotcha.
Without that, you just may have a piece of dirt.
That's not good.
Yeah. And so you may go through all these stages, and you want to make sure those are the biggest things. Now, let's go back to the utilities with public water, public sewer. What if it doesn't have public water or public sewer? What do we do? Septic or a well. And so very important on a piece of land, it's something called a perk test. It's called percolation. And basically for a septic, now everybody knows septic tanks, well maybe not everybody, but septic tanks are rated by the bedrooms, not the, not the baths.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that until you explained it to me.
And so they're going to rate how big the house is, will have basically the capacity of the amount of people in the home. And so that capacity, if you're wanting to build a 5-bedroom home, you've got to have a perk test for a 5-bedroom or at least a 4-bedroom with a possible bonus room that could be considered an office. So if you're going to do septic, there's all types of septics. There's conventional septics, and there's some alternatives. Meaning, so if you find that lot and maybe it doesn't have exactly what you need, it's going to be septic, there's some engineered systems out there that will make that lot work. Now they're very expensive. They can be $10,000 or $15,000 for an engineered system. But if you're building your custom dream home, that's just going to be a lot of cost that you're going to have to be factored into the deal.
Right.
And if there's a little bit elevated cost for the septic system, you got to do and budget your numbers. So first and foremost, make sure you have all your utilities and everything scheduled, and then make sure your septic or public water and utilities is scheduled from there.
So once you find your lot and you check it out, make sure everything's a go, that you can actually build on it, see what kind of utilities are on it and what you are planning on putting on the utilities, and maybe once you secure that lot, should you go ahead and start building or start planning?
I think number one is going to be planning, and you and I were talking before that it could take 6 months or several months to start planning. And the biggest thing, I think, start number one is get an idea with some home plans online and get an idea of what you're looking for. Now, the challenge with the online plans, they could range from $600 to $2,000.
Oh.
Now, I would not encourage you to buy something online if you're going to fully customize it, because it's very, very important. I think what we need to do is get an idea. Call our office. We've got some really good architects and some designers. And so the first thing I think you should do is get a floor plan.
And sit down with somebody.
Everything's going to go off your blueprints. And so it's important that we know if you're going to change any walls, move anything around, let's do it before we start the construction phase. Let's do our blueprints, let's do our constructions, and let's make sure if we're going to move toilets or update kitchens, we can do that on the fly. So that would be your first format that you need to do, is make sure we get with our our blueprints and our designer.
Right. Yeah.
And we're going to, as we're coming up on a little bit of a break, but we're going to talk more about that and more in depth of how we can shop for building supplies, and how we can do this on a budget and really save you some money. You guys are listening to Real Estate with Ryan every Saturday here at 5 o'clock. Thank you for staying with us. And on the other side of the break, we're going to pick this topic back up.
In the competitive real estate market, Ryan Coleman has a track record with guaranteed results.
Ryan made the sale of our home seamless. He was there every step of the way.
And our home sold the first week for full price.
With his knowledge and expertise, he took away all our worries.
And he got us much more money than we had ever expected.
Ryan is so confident that he will sell your home, he's willing to put his own money on the line. If he can't sell it in the time frame agreed upon up front, he'll buy it himself. Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty, your home sold guaranteed.
Hey guys, thank you for staying with us. I'm Ryan Coleman. I'm your host along with my co-host April Coleman. And we were talking on the other side of the break about owner building your own home, how we can save some money.
Exactly.
How you can do it yourself. And if you don't think you can do it yourself, you'd be surprised that you can. And we're going to give you some tips on how to do that and keep you going. We were talking about a blueprint and getting with a designer on the beginning part of how that's the most important part.
Yes.
Next thing is, where's the money at? How are you going to finance it? And so some options on owner building and some challenges that you may, if you do a little research online. This is a really good book, by the way, and I would encourage you guys to go get it. It's called The Owner Builder Book by Mark Smith and Elaine Smith. I've had this thing for years, and it's really some good tips in there that I would encourage you guys to read that and go out and get it. And get it at your Barnes and Nobles or Amazon or somewhere like that. But we talk about the challenges and some of the banks, and what we'll come up with is regarding financing. A lot of the banks don't want you to owner build. They want a contractor and a Class A contractor to do that. And so there are some ways to do it, and there are some banks, if you do your research, and of course we have some access to some banks as well, that we'd be glad to give to you, that we have any kind of help that we have there. But the biggest thing is why the banks don't want you to do it is because of liability, and they want to know that, make sure that you're not getting in over your head. And so do some researching, tongue-tied there, on financing. And some ways to go around that is, number one, secure your lot. So if, let's say you've got the equity from your home and you don't have enough to finance the whole thing, but you could do partial, what we could do is do a land loan. We could take the land out and we could do a construction. You can even hold it for up to 15 years before you build. So they give you some options
It's a lot
there.
of time to plan.
You can also have an equity line on your home that if you wanted to start that stages before, you could do that where your home is on the market, or we can secure that lot. So there's a lot of different options there, or you can pay cash, which is always the best way to do it, is pay cash.
Pay as you go.
And so if that is a two-move situation, you need to prepare at least 6 months to probably build your home. Obviously, the weather and things like that, custom build, you're going to run into snags. One of the challenges, you don't do this every day. And so a lot of the builders, the construction market is booming, and it's hard to find subs. So I'd say the biggest thing is allow your time to get multiple bids. We talk about planning. I think April was saying something earlier about a spreadsheet.
Yes, spreadsheets, written budget. You need to really be detailed in your budget and know what you want. And then say if you need time to plan, just because what if, on Thanksgiving, that weekend, huge appliance sales. What if you're building in March? You need to know that the best deals are Black Friday deals. And then you can buy those appliances at that, and if you can store it in your house for the time being. But you always need to plan and look for deals and the best lumber deals and the best flooring. And if something goes on clearance, and you just need to be able to have that time. And then put it on a spreadsheet. What's your budget for every item? And go through that.
That's true. And that's where you'll find is if you're doing your homework and preparing, and you may even prepare a year out in advance, you need to know what things are going to cost. You need to know what, an LVL costs, right? You need to know what framing truss costs. You're going to probably either going to stick build that, or you're going to get it, engineered with a truss factory. So you got to get an idea of what they cost on an example, so you know what you're paying. So when it's crunch time, you're not guessing that, framing labor is going to cost me $3 a foot or $3.50 a square foot. So when you get bids all over the place, you know what's fair, you know what the market's trading. Now, just like the real estate market, supply and demand will come into play as well. The guy that does 50 deals a year is probably going to get a better deal than the guy that does one and never have that relationship.
That's true.
But that's okay. The money that you're going to save on owner building will easily offset that. So you have some room to maybe pay just a tad bit higher. Always get multiple bids and always get them in writing, and that's very important. And get from multiple contractors and see their timeline. I'm big. If you've seen us on social media, and we just put a video out the other day, and we talk about getting the most out of your subs, but at the same time, I'll pay a little bit higher for a great quality sub that would show up and do what they're supposed to do versus the guy that's maybe a couple $100 cheaper, but I can't count on him. He won't show up and he doesn't come back to fix things. So that's important.
Right.
Be on site. You got to be present. Owner build, and just so you know, if you're getting into an owner build, it takes a lot of your time. You've got to manage it. You got to micromanage it. You got to make sure supplies are on the job site. We partner with a company in town, 84 Lumber. We've used them across the country, no matter where you're at, and they work really well with you. And if you need things and you've got a relationship with your guy there, they'll bring stuff on site and get it out to the vendors and get it out to the framers and the roofers so that there's no issues with that.
That's nice.
Keep your job site clean. The city and the county and the neighbors will be the first to tell you that if you've got junk everywhere, trash everywhere, you don't want the neighbors mad at you. And they'll be calling the county nonstop, and you just don't need that. You want a clean job site. Make sure your guys clean up after yourself.
And when we were building, I was out there digging out Mountain Dew bottles and cans and trash because I was like, this stuff's going to be underneath my house. And I was digging everything out. So keep it clean.
Well, you do. It's important. I mean, you take pride in you spend a lot of money for your home. And so nobody's going to manage your project like you. And so that's important that you guys look at that. Attend some contractors or trade shows. Get an idea of what some of the newest stuff is out there. Get some ideas. We call it inspiration to a lot of our graphic designers. Give me some inspiration, right? And so get some idea of what's going on out there, what's hot, what's not.
And for women, it's Pinterest.
That's everybody. Now, where the money's at is always going to tell you the cabinets, the bathrooms, the kitchens. And you believe it or not, I mean, we've got some good box stores in town, but you're going to pay some retail pricing on some of these cabinets. Kitchens you can spend $50,000 to $100,000 in the blink of an eye. And so there's some good resources out there that you can buy wholesale, say maybe 30-40%. We did it on one of our projects that we did, which was a remodel, and they were $500,000 cabinets in a $200,000 house.
I'm telling you.
Now, there was a little bit of challenge with it. With every savings, there was a hiccup and had to send it back, but it was worth it because of better quality. So keep that in mind. Shop on your wholesale pricing. Now, some things don't make sense to get wholesale. If you're trying to save $100, timing is more important than $100.
Right.
But on your kitchens, your baths, your granite, some of those stones can be outsourced and things like that. We talked about the construction loan, but I go back to that. Make sure that you don't start a project and you don't have the means to finish it out. The biggest challenge with that is if you go over budget, and you will. It happens. It happens to all of us, right? You need to allow an over budget, but make sure that you don't have a property where you can't get a CO on it. The CO is a certificate of occupancy, and that means basically without that you can't do anything. Our permits are only good for 12 months, and you have to renew them. So it's important that although you may want to take your time, you don't want your permit to run out, and you want to make sure that if you've got a property, you can't even get a loan on it to finish.
So you need to know your rules and regulations.
And make sure, and I keep going back to that financing, but if you're going to do it, make sure you have some reserve cash put away. That if you do go over budget, you can put it into it. Now, once you got your CO, we can go get an existing loan. It makes it very, very easy. So if you go ahead and do this owner bill, all yourself cash, our good friends at Gateway, Chris O'Graff, will be glad to come back, put a mortgage on it, and maybe if it's a small mortgage, then you can get all your money back.
Gotcha.
So those are just things to think about. And make sure you save on title insurance as well. And Carla at Genesis Title will help you with that. And some ways on new construction, on a new policy, how you can really save some money, several $100s on the title policy, which is also very good. Contractor discount. You're going to purchase, a large amount. If it's $200,000 or $300,000 property, it's so important that you buy in bulk. Home Depot, let's give an example. We were just there yesterday. They have something called the bid room. And the bid room, and basically, you'll buy everything in bulk, and they'll give you, even if it's on sale, they may give you lower pricing because you're buying a larger discount. So those are things to think about. Talk about tracking prices on major budget items and really get an idea. You talked about that during Thanksgiving. When if you're going to buy $10,000 in appliances, well, you want to do it in November when it's the best deal.
Right.
And there's some other specials that are 40, 50%. And you're going to get a volume discount by buying it. On aspect with bulk like that. I do think it's also important to understand your sales. You may go in and customize the property. You have to understand that if you're planning to have an end loan on it, that you make sure you don't overbill for your subdivision. Don't overbill for your neighbor.
True.
Yeah.
Got to think about that because you don't want to be the fanciest house in the neighborhood.
Now you're a big Groupon, right? Or your coupons?
You got that right.
All right. And so I think those are very important. There's a lot of coupons and discount out there, so don't be afraid to shop the coupon items.
That's right.
Well, you guys, this show always goes quicker than we expected, and you're listening to Real Estate with Ryan every Saturday, and we've got some quick congratulations here before we get off the show.
That's right. And Wooddale Drive just went under contract along with Bocashee out in Loudon. And then our new homes that just hit the market, we have Covemont in Sevierville, Wally Oakley in Gatlinburg, Gates Lane in Sevierville, and we also have Chestnut Ridge in Andersonville.
Thank you for staying with us. Real Estate with Ryan every Saturday at 5 o'clock on News Talk 98.7. That's 693-SOLD, or visit me on the web at ryancoleman.org. Until next week, thank you guys.